Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Kalani and Asuelu on 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch the show and react to it.
So happy. Well, you better love Kalani.
Yeah, I love her.
That's I pray God every day. Please give love to my children. Give love to my children. Take care of the kids.
So this is interesting. We're seeing his mom, who he seems to take after. The mom has an interesting way of expressing herself. Now, maybe it is typical in Samoa for someone to express themselves that way. But either way, to my eyes, I'm seeing Asuelu and the mom acting in very similar ways. And I'm trying to figure out how I would describe the similarity. Let's rewind this. Maybe we'll see some more data. But I think we can all imagine Asuelu doing this exact same expression, which is, let's just say, interesting. But it's not a bad expression. It's just particular. Let's rewind it.
That's I pray God every day. Please give love to my children. Give love to my children. Take care of the kids. Take care of the kids.
Don't cry, Mommy. I feel you.
So I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, she's emphasizing something, and it's nothing bad that she's saying. She's, I want my son to have a good life, and I want him to love his family, and I want good things to happen for my family members, and she's very passionate about that. But just the way she expresses herself, I wonder if there's something on. I'm sure we'll never find out because the show probably won't investigate it, obviously, but I wonder if there is something particular about the way the mom expresses herself, or the way that she thinks that Asuelu learned from and somehow is a factor in the problem. Or maybe it's just a personality trait that has nothing to do with their problems. The problem that they're experiencing is that Asuelu has a hard time asserting himself. The two of them are having a hard time communicating about their true feelings. Asuelu, when he gets frustrated, he will just disappear and act in what we might characterize as very immature ways. And so maybe the mom's behavior has nothing to do with that. Maybe it does. We'll probably never find out, but let's continue watching.
So much.
But Swell,
What?
I need money.
Even though sending money is a traditional thing to do in the Samoan culture, I will never let Asuelu send them the amount that they ask. And I think that that's made everything tense between us.
So if you're aware of this, then you're aware of this. If you're not, then you're not. But it's common. I didn't know about Samoa, but in some Pacific Islanders, some Asian cultures, and maybe in other parts of the world, there is a tradition, a culture of sharing, is the way that I would describe it. So in my neck of the woods in Seattle, in mainstream American culture, to ask a family member for money is one of the most disgraceful things you could ever do. To say, I need you, especially to demand it, to say to a family member like, hey, you have more money than me, give me your money. That would be one of the most disgraceful things you could ever do in my neck of the woods. It would be very frowned upon. People would maybe end a relationship over such a thing, possibly. But in other parts of the world, that sort of behavior will come out of not out of a feeling of entitlement, not out of a feeling of selfishness, but out of sharing. Some cultures, people share with each other. If you have more food than your brother, then you automatically give food to your brother. That's the way people survive, so that you don't have family members that are struggling. If everyone, sort of like socialism, if you will, that if you have extra money, then you share it. And it's incredibly impolite not to share it. And it's okay for someone who needs something to say, hey, you have more than me, give it to me. And if you don't give it to them, it's incredibly impolite not to do that. Now, on this show, we've actually seen a couple of times, I think we saw it with Ed and Rose a little bit as well in the Philippines, that the sister was asking for money for Ed, and Ed interpreted it as this money grab. But in some parts of the world, now they're in Washington. I think they're saying Washington State. I'm guessing in my neck of the woods. But anyway, where the mom lives, not quite sure. But I don't know if we're going to see that, but it's possible that we're going to run into that culture clash. That for Kalani, although her dad is Samoan, her mom is what looks to be Caucasian American. I'm not quite sure. For Kalani, her culture is, no, I'm not of that sharing culture. But for Asuelu and his family, maybe they are of that sharing culture, and maybe we'll see a clash in terms of how they communicate about that. So when you come from a very sharing culture, particularly in your family, and then say one person in the family manages to make it into a society where your hourly pay is literally more than you make in an entire week, then of course everyone in that family is going to look to that person who went to that other country and is earning a lot more money and say, hey, if I shared to you all those times, and everyone is sharing with everyone, and now you're going to share with us. And if you don't share with us, you're breaking the rules, because if I were in your position, I would be sharing with everyone. And so give me my money. We're a collective here. You managed to win the lottery in terms of going to the United States and earning a lot more money. And that means we all win the lottery. And so don't be selfish, share. I shared with you, and if I were in your shoes, I don't know, but that's one way of describing it. And I don't know if that's this situation, but there's a possibility. Let's see if that is what that is what's happening.
I spend money to buy the diapers and pay the bills. I spend to fix my car.
You better leave that car away and look for your mom. Take your car back to the car dealer.
How much money you think you win?
You have the 1,000 for me?
I only have 500.
She won 1,000.
Yeah, so I'm guessing if you're not from a culture that has this value, then this behavior is going to look extremely uncouth, extremely impolite, extremely entitled, extremely rude, extremely strange, that a mother would just be like, hey, I need money, give me money. And we, I think, understand that for Kalani and Asuelu, they're not rich. And Asuelu's saying, look, I'm spending money on stuff for the kids. And the mom just seemed to not care at all. She's like, send me money anyway. So from our perspective, it's rude, it's selfish, it's uncaring, it's inconsiderate, it's strange. It's like, what's going on here? Because for my neck of the woods, people would literally go homeless in my community rather than ask their family member for a little bit of money. That happens all the time. In fact, you could argue that a lot of people experiencing homelessness, at least one of the factors, is that we have this culture of like, you have to be independent. You can't ask for help. You shouldn't ask for help. If you ask for help, it's weak. You're being a burden on other people if you ask for help, this sort of thing. Of course, that's not the only reason why people are experiencing homelessness. There's a whole slew of things: mental illness, oppression, sexism, all sorts of issues, abuse, trauma. But anyway, getting back to this situation, the mom's behavior, if you're not familiar with it, will look really strange. You're like, whoa, what's happening? But when you understand these cultures, or when you live in those cultures, or you have friends or family members, and you say, oh yeah, I mean, this is the way things are. It's normal to do this. There might also be a thing in Samoa where it's not just necessarily sharing with your family, but particularly with your parents, because your parents gave to you so much as you were growing up, that as children, you're obligated to give back to your parents. I don't know if that's what's happening, but that could be a factor as well. It would make sense.
You care about your family before you care about anyone else. That's what we're supposed to do. So take care of your family before you know.
Okay, I will try to make that happen. But I don't know Kalani if she wants to.
Why do you blame everything?
Yeah, so this isn't good. So he is now just turning to Kalani. It's like, well, I want to give you the money, but I don't know if Kalani wants to get it. Not good, not cool. Total triangulation, total shirking of your responsibility. Totally in line with their dynamic. Of course, we can't imagine Asuelu saying, Mom, I get it, but you know what? Money's pretty tight right now, and I want to give you money, But I'm going to think about it. I'm going to talk with Kalani. Kalani she loves you guys very much, but I'm going to make the choice. And if I say no, it was my choice. We can't imagine Asuelu saying anything like that, right? Given his demeanor, given his pattern. The other thing I'll say is that it's possible that Samoans, and let me know if you are from that part of the world, it's possible that other Samoans would see this scene and say like, okay, yeah, we have a culture of giving money back to one's parents or one's family members, but we don't usually do it in this way. I mean, we saw the sister going like this motion, give me the money. It's possible that even for Samoans, this family is over the top. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know that.
Asuelu keeps throwing me under the bus. He always wants to be good cop and pit me as bad cop. It's uncomfortable. We already have weird tension with his family, so to just kind of make it even worse and just blame me for everything and blame me for things that even he agrees with, like why? Why would you do that?
That's a great question. Why would someone do that? Well, because they're terrified of rejection. That's usually why. That for Asuelu, he's terrified of being rejected by his mom and his sister, and so he'd rather have everyone blame his wife than to blame him. That's usually why.
Wakes up sad.
It's okay. You scratch your nose?
Yeah, ako sabi ay mo luwala oliver. Sakit na.
All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.